It was a hectic scene in front of Brian and Nicole Albert's home in Canton, Massachusetts on the morning of January 29th. Police, firefighters, and paramedics all responding because Boston police officer John O'Keefe was found unresponsive on the ground in the snow. Officer O'Keefe had spent the prior evening bar hopping downtown, and the Alberts were hosting an after-hours party and had invited John and his girlfriend, Karen Reed. Karen never went inside. She says she dropped John off and went back to his house, then woke up early and began frantically looking for him. Prosecutors say Karen is the one who killed John. They say she ran him over with the back of her car on purpose because their relationship had soured and she was filled with jealous rage. Karen says that's not true and believes it was actually the people inside the house who ambushed John and then framed her for his murder. One of the key figures inside this alleged conspiracy is Jennifer McCabe. The defense says she Googled how long to die in the cold at 2:27 a.m., hours before John O'Keefe was found. But she says the search was done after 6 a.m. because Karen asked her to do it. She also says she and her family have been viciously harassed by Karen Reed's supporters. Tonight, we'll break down her crucial cross-examination as we continue our investigation into the tragic death of Officer John O'Keefe. I'm Vinny Politan. Thank you for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. And another big day in Dedham, Massachusetts in the trial of Karen Reed. She's been accused of murder, doing it on purpose, taking the life of her boyfriend, John O'Keefe. But Karen Reed has a different story. She's saying, I am the victim of a conspiracy. So we've got a trial within a trial taking place inside this courtroom. Legally, it's just about whether or not Karen Reed murdered John O'Keefe. But the way it's actually playing out through the testimony, through the cross-examination, through the opening statements, through the witnesses, and ultimately through the defense case is whether or not Karen Reed murdered John O'Keefe or John O'Keefe was murdered by someone inside the house, and then the people inside the house conspiring with local police in Canton, Massachusetts, and state police who took over this investigation to frame her for that murder. This doesn't happen all the time. You hear people throw that around, I was framed. But it's rare that you see it in a courtroom play out this way. And the defense couldn't be any clearer in their opening statement. They said Karen Reed was framed here. So one of the people in the center of this alleged conspiracy is a woman named Jennifer McCabe. And she did a search on her cell phone. She misspelled the word, but it was how long to die in the cold. It's actually hose long to die in the cold, or hos long to die in the cold. 2:27, this is crucial. This is the search, or the alleged search at 2:27 in the morning, depending upon whose perspective you're looking at this, that really gave birth to the Free Karen Reed movement. It is the piece of evidence that told the defense, wait a minute, there's something else going on here. It couldn't have been Karen Reed because this search is done more than 3 hours before John O'Keefe is found. So no one's going to search that unless they know that he's out there in the cold, dying. This is so important. This is the cornerstone of the defense. It was from this piece that every other part of this alleged conspiracy grew. And Jennifer McCabe, the one who allegedly did the search, is on the stand. So a lot of questions for her, because she's a crucial witness, not just for the defense to try to prove their conspiracy, but for the prosecution to prove their murder. And the questions are like, what did she see? Did she see Karen Reed's SUV that night? Where did she see it? How many times did she see it? What was it doing? Who was in it? And at what times? All extremely important for prosecutors. And of course, important for the defense. trying to raise a reasonable doubt, trying to get this jury to believe that a reasonable alternative explanation for what happened to John O'Keefe is that there was this conspiracy to frame Karen Reed. Another big question is, what did she hear? What did she hear that following morning when she got to the scene with Karen Reed? And Karen Reed is allegedly frantic that morning. Did she hear the confession? A confession is direct evidence. I did it. I did it. I did it. That's called a confession. Direct evidence. So, this witness, so incredibly important, today began her cross-examination. And this could be make it or break it time for the defense and or the prosecution. So let's bring in Court TV crime and justice correspondent Matt Johnson, joining us tonight from outside the courthouse in Dedham, Massachusetts. Wow, what a day, what an important witness. A lot on the line, Matt. Great to see you. Tell us about the cross-examination of Jennifer McCabe today.
Vinny, nice to see you, and you said it yourself. What a day, and what a big day for this trial, this drama that is playing out here at the courthouse behind me in Dedham, Massachusetts. So you had Jen McCabe back on the stand for cross-examination. She was the only witness on the stand today after a 3-day break for this jury because yesterday was dark, and wow, it was contentious at times. The sparring between this defense attorney and this witness. There were times when she wouldn't even look at him to answer the question. She would look over at the jury box and answer to them. It was very tense. Here's a few moments from today.
Ms. McCabe, the truth of the matter is you've manufactured this new story for this jury because you think it helps you out.
Absolutely not.
Would you tell us if you did?
Yes, because I'm an honest and truthful person.
Were you allowed, that group of folks, were you allowed to discuss the case without a police presence?
Yes.
You listened to what Brian Albert had to say?
He didn't really say much.
He was able to listen to what you had to say?
Again, you're creating a scene that didn't happen.
Anything, Ms. McCabe. I'm asking some questions that you don't seem to want to answer.
Objection, Your Honor.
All right, so let's ask a question and let's get an answer, okay?
Yes or no? You said, yeah, I did go there, and he didn't ask a follow-up, like, what the heck were you doing at Michael Blake's house the day after this issue?
Objection.
This incident.
I'll allow it.
He didn't ask a follow-up like that?
I do not believe he did.
So, Trooper Tully, had you come down for an interview, he confronted you with a fact that had never been disclosed before, to wit, you showed up at Michael Lank's house, and when you said, yeah, oh yeah, hang on, I think your words were, oh my gosh, yeah, I think I did go there. And he didn't ask a follow-up question?
You're spinning all of this.
Ma'am, I do a lot of things.
Yeah.
I don't spin. There's a judge here to make sure that I don't spin.
Everybody is just glued to this witness box during all of this, those tense moments that lasted pretty much all day. Outside the courthouse, you had people that were watching on their cell phones. I saw a couple people driving by. They were blasting the audio from CourtTV.com as they were driving, listening to this testimony. This was a big witness for a lot of people. She's going to be back on the stand tomorrow. She's going to have to answer more questions. And then it's her friend, Carrie Roberts, who she answered a lot of questions about today. That's up next. I saw her leave the courthouse here, Vinny, earlier today.
Yeah, you talk about the fire, and you don't get it necessarily in every trial, right? But in this one, the defense is like literally accusing her of lying, of being part, in fact, being in the middle of this entire conspiracy. We know about the Free Karen Reed movement. We know, and she has talked about it on the stand, about what she's calling the vicious attacks of her and her family. So it's much more than just a witness. This is getting kind of personal for her, and I think we felt that. So let's get to what I talked about as being really what I thought was the cornerstone of the Free Karen Read movement, the cornerstone of the defense, which is her Google search, hose long to die in the cold. Was she asked about that search today on cross-examination?
No, and that's what was so surprising for everybody here at the courthouse, Vinny, outside of Boston, where we're all watching this unfold. We thought that that could have been the beginning question of the day or the ending question of the day, but she hasn't been asked just yet. And you saw right there, so many of the Karen Read supporters, and they're growing in number, I can tell you this much, have so many of those signs that say either Free Karen Read or House Long to Die in the Cold. She was asked about it on direct. I want to play her answer, and then also what the defense team told me as they were leaving court on Friday. Take a listen.
She grabbed my hands and she said, Google hypothermia, Google how long it takes to die in the cold. And so I had my phone out and it was cold and my hands were frozen and I have MS, and I took my phone out while she was screaming and shaking my arm, and I attempted to Google how long does it take to die in the cold.
That Google search was at 2:27 in the morning. That's when the Google search happened, and you'll find out why we know that.
Alan Jackson telling Court TV and the other media gaggle as he was leaving the courthouse there after her direct examination, saying that they have proof that this was done at 2:27. So we expect to hear about it tomorrow.
I think that's it's got to be the closing of it. If they truly believe in this evidence, that this is it, they've got to put the exclamation point on the cross-examination, and that would be it. Obviously, the prosecution will have an opportunity to rehabilitate. They'll have an opportunity to bring in their own experts to talk about the search, because that's another battle that is brewing down the road in this case. Let's get to another thing that happened today. Questions about deleted calls. Tell us about those.
This was a big issue. Yeah, exactly, Vinny. This was such a big issue today that was discussed, and it took much of today's testimony, probably why they didn't get to the end of their cross-examination. But she was questioned a lot about her relationships to others that are testifying in the case, when exactly she spoke with other people, her interactions with text messages before she was granted permission, she says, by the police department to delete some text messages, exchanges between she and her daughter. But the defense says you may have deleted a lot more than that. Let's play this.
The fact is that you deleted your call records before you turned your phone in, didn't you, Ms. McCabe? That's what that report shows.
Absolutely not.
You sanitized your phone because you didn't want the police to know who you had been calling, or the fact that you had been calling John O'Keefe's phone incessantly, correct?
Incorrect. I willingly turned over my phone.
After you deleted your phone call logs, correct?
Absolutely not.
What date did you turn your phone over?
Possibly February 3rd.
How many days after this incident was that?
4 or 5.
So you had plenty of time to talk to that friends and family group and ultimately decide to delete your phone calls, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Okay, so then you have the testimony following that really talks about the extraction reports between two phones. The victim, John O'Keefe, and there are several missed calls from this witness, Jen McCabe, between 12:18 and 12:50, but they don't show up on Jen McCabe's extraction report. And she was asked about whether or not she deleted them.
All of those calls after 12:18 were missed calls, correct?
In his report that you showed me?
Correct. In other words, the only two calls that were answered were the 12:14 and 12:18. Everything else was a missed call.
I believe so. I would have to refer to it again because I've seen so many reports.
And Ms. McCabe, according to the extraction reports that you've seen this morning, comparing yours to his, every single one of those calls was deleted off your phone, correct? According to the reports. The period between 12:29 and 12:50, which is the exact period that you were, quote, butt dialing John multiple times. That's also the exact period that John O'Keefe was rendered incapacitated.
The line of questioning then went to, why do you think that someone would call somebody that many times? And then she answered in a different way. It was a different question, but she answered that when you have your phone that's missing, you ask someone to call it several times so that you can help locate it. So that's where this defense team was going with this jury, as to maybe that's why all of these calls were made, was maybe because there's a group of people looking for his cell phone.
Wow. Wow. And what you saw in that cross-examination is the attorney testifying. Like, the answers don't matter in this situation. Alan Jackson is getting his story in front of the jury. Wow, big, big day. And it continues tomorrow with that cross-examination. First thing, Matt Johnson, great job as always. Thank you, sir. We'll speak again tomorrow. Right now, I want to bring in a special guest, body language expert, author of the New York Times bestselling book, You Can't Lie to Me, and creator of the new free, that means you don't pay for it, it's free, newsletter, In the Driver's Seat. Janine Driver's with us. Janine, great to see you. This is such an important witness. You know, people were texting me all day on social media saying, you're going to bring Janine in tonight to take a look, so you're here. Let's take a look. Let's start first. Jennifer McCabe, I'm going to show you two short clips, one at a time. Tell me what, if anything, you see in the way she answers, because these were two moments that we thought were so significant from her testimony. Let's begin with the first one.
I'm not sure if it's in this document, but I can tell you today with 100% clarity, she said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him on that morning.
This is listening to the alleged confession by the defendant. What, if anything, did you see in that answer from Jennifer McCabe?
I don't think you need to be a body language expert for this one. This is a slam dunk. She's shaking her head no. She does a shoulder shrug. Absolute certainty. She can tell us. And by the way, she can't even get the words out. So it's like, if anything, there's uncertainty right here. I can tell you with 100% certainty, she said, she stumbles over words, does that shoulder shrug. A shoulder shrug means uncertainty. I mean, look at yourself in the mirror and say, I love my job. And shoulder shrug, right? Or I'd love to go on a date with you again. And shoulder shrug. The person's going to be like, I guess I'm never seeing you again. So we have uncertainty here. And then there's the shrug right here, right? You just saw it a second ago. Look at these glaring of the teeth. So we saw this with Cato Kalin. When Cato Kalin was on the stand back with the OJ case back in the decade, I'm dating myself here, Vinny. And Marsha Clark, the attorney, said, isn't it true you just got a book deal and a movie deal, and this is why you're saying this stuff? And it's like this. This is scorn. It's a combination of anger and disgust. So we have scorn right here. We saw this on Dick Cheney's face, too, after he shot his friend.
Well, let me ask you this, Janine. Can I ask you this? Because this is someone who is being accused of taking part in a conspiracy to murder someone, cover it up, and frame someone else. And there have been protests in front of her house. She's described it as being viciously attacked, her and her family. She's not happy. She's angry about being put in all this. Could that explain any of this body language?
It could explain the scorn. I love that you're thinking like this, Vinny. It could explain the anger and the scorn, right? Because I'd be irritated too. But it doesn't explain at the same exact time that uncertainty happening and then that tongue protrusion. So when our tongue comes out, that is like, I'm getting away with something. This is where you often see with deceptive people doing those tongue protrusions. High stress happens. So yes, we could have high stress here. In the clip you showed a second ago before you brought me on, Vinny, she was asked a question, and that's a yes or no question. And she said, absolutely not.
Well, that's what I'm going to show. Let me show you. I've got it for you, Janine. Okay. I've got it for you. I got it right here in my pocket. Here we go. Take a look.
Ms. McCabe, the truth of the matter is you've manufactured this new story for this jury because you think it helps you out.
Absolutely not.
So?
What do you see? She nods her head. She nods her head yes here, while saying absolutely not. And absolutely not is what we call a weak denial. So if you ask your kids if they take medicated, edibles, gummy bear edibles, if they're theirs, are those yours? No, they're my friend Brian's. Absolutely not, Mom. This is overselling, Vinny, and you at home. So truthful people convey, liars try to convince. So we want to hear strong denial. Strong denial is no. A simple no will do here. We don't have it. We have an oversell. We have a yes. Right out of the gate, this is, to me, not a credible person on the stand. This is someone who's keeping a secret.
Janine Driver, thank you so much. We'll see you soon.
Hey, it was an absolute pleasure to be.
I heard that. Absolute pleasure. I get it. Janine Driver. All right. Don't go anywhere, folks. When we come back, we're going to bring in our trial insiders. We've got a whole lot to talk about tonight.
Monday morning.
The ultimate betrayals.
Every episode of Accomplice to Murder.
Spell was broken when the handcuffs went click.
Friends and family turning on each other.
What he was willing to do for $1 million.
But just who is the puppet?
She was a master manipulator.
And who's pulling the strings?
Accomplice to Murder with Vinny Politan. Memorial Day Marathon. Starting Monday morning, 8/7 Central.
Only on Court TV.
Today.
Page 208, lines 24 through 25, outside at Fairview, she asked the question, did I hit him? And went on to ask, could I have hit him? Correct?
Correct.
And your testimony was also on page 208 that Karen was yelling nonstop in front of the female EMT. Did I hit him? Could I have hit him? Is he dead? Correct?
Correct.
This is really a huge issue for Karen Reed. There's a difference between saying, could I have hit him? Did I hit him? Versus, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. And Jennifer McCabe is testifying at the trial that that's what she said. But there are some prior transcripts of testimony that don't seem to necessarily be consistent with all that. What does that mean? Did she or didn't she confess? What is going on here in this trial? Let's bring in our insiders. My guest joining me, Karen Reed supporter, creator of the Justice for Officer John O'Keefe and Karen Reed Facebook page, Nick Rocco. Also with us, criminal defense attorney Peter Ellikin, and the YouTuber behind Yellow Cottage Tales, Kevin Lenahan, is with us. Great to see everyone tonight. Thanks for being here. Nick, I'll begin with you. Your thoughts about I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. Did she or did she not confess to Jennifer McCabe?
Well, Jennifer McCabe stated 12 different times that every time Karen said something about that, it was in a question form. Could I have hit him? Is he dead? Did I hit him? And then she also stated that she said it in front of the female EMT. And that female EMT is Katie McLaughlin, who is saying something different, right? She's saying, I heard her say I hit him. But the biggest thing about that is Officer Saraf was standing right there. If he heard her say, I hit her, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, why did he not arrest her, take her down to the station, put it in his police report? Because she didn't say that. And how do you go from asking questions all day long of did I hit him, could I have hit him, to all of a sudden now when all the cops are there, now all of a sudden you're just going to scream, I hit him, I'm admitting it, I hit him? That doesn't make sense at all.
Kevin Lenahan, are you confident in this confession that Jennifer McCabe says she heard?
I mean, as I've said here before, as you guys know, I've never put a lot of weight on whatever words Karen said at the scene because we don't know what's in her mind. However, I do find Jen's testimony to be consistent. So when Karen's on the phone and when she's in the car, it's more of a question. But then later on, once she processes seeing John and knowing the condition of her taillight, at some point that starts to convert possibly to I hit him instead of a question. But for me, the big thing is we're going to see here is a pattern of this strange statement and similar strange statements that goes all the way back to when she first starts making her phone calls. This is going to be testified. It's already been testified by Jen and by Matt It's going to be testified tomorrow by Kerry Roberts and then soon by the niece. And those aren't the kind of questions that somebody would be asking if they wake up and their boyfriend's missing. They're just going to think he's sleeping with someone on someone's couch, let's say.
Peter Ellikin, how devastating is it if the jury believes that this is a confession? And did this cross-examination undermine this alleged confession and raise suspicions around some of these prosecution witnesses perhaps being part of some conspiracy and shading their testimony here at trial, knowing what they're being accused of and knowing what's at stake here?
Oh, absolutely. If the jury bought this and said, oh, she absolutely confessed to it, then that's very, very strong evidence for the prosecution. But here, I think that the defense was particularly effective in the cross-examination today on that. I mean, the very fact that during the grand jury testimony, Jennifer McCabe was asked 12 different times about what she said, what she heard. And again, it's, did I hit him? Could I have hit him? And today, for the first time under oath, she says, and she has said it also, a great deal later after the grand jury, that she suddenly did a confession. Why would you change the story when you have such extremely strong evidence? You have a confession. Why wouldn't you even mention it? And we've heard this. We don't really have this established confession. As it was just brought up, the officer on the scene, Officer Saraf, supposedly heard that, but he writes a police report and he doesn't mention it. I mean, what police officer would come find a dead body, somebody standing right next to him confesses it, and doesn't even bother to put it in the report at all?
That's problematic. That is, let me play something else here, though, because Jennifer McCabe's not just what she heard, it's what she saw or didn't see. Take a look.
In that other proceeding, did you testify that you got up and sat down and got up and sat down every time you were texting?
Possibly.
Okay. So if you got up and walked over to the door and you see the SUV and you text, and then you walk away from the door and sit down for a second, that would be one text and one view of the SUV, correct?
Yes.
So if you did that at 12:27, 12:31, 12:40, 12:42, and 12:45, you'd agree that's 5 times that you were up and down looking at the SUV, correct?
I'm not sure if I did it 5 times.
How many times do you think you did do it?
I know I definitely did it the first when I said here. I know I definitely did it when I said pull behind me, because that's when the vehicle had moved up a little bit.
Matter of fact, the entire time that you looked out at that vehicle with that clear and that good view, you didn't see anything out of the ordinary, did you?
No.
And you would agree with me, as you looked at the SUV, you're looking over the lawn to the SUV out at the street, correct?
Correct.
There was no obstruction between you and the SUV. You've already testified to that, is that right?
Correct.
And you could see everything in your field of view.
Correct.
And then you saw the SUV gone. It had driven away after 12:45.
Correct.
So I have a question, Ms. McCabe. Where was the body?
I have no idea. I'm assuming the body was on the front lawn.
Kevin Lenahan, are you troubled by the fact that she's looking at the window multiple times, sees the SUV moving all the time, sees it when it's gone, but doesn't see John O'Keefe?
You know, and look, I'm trying to interject. There are things that come up in this testimony that I found troubling.
We've got a little problem with your microphone, Kevin. We've got a little problem with your microphone. Sounds like it's breaking up. Yep, you need a new battery. Nick, your thoughts?
Well, I said this Friday night, Vinny. She's going back and forth to the front door. The last place she sees Karen's vehicle was at the flagpole. And then the next time she looks, the vehicle's gone. So you're going to look exactly where the car was. And that's where supposedly John's body was on the lawn, but she didn't see it. So for a bunch of people at a party, it seems like everybody's looking out the windows at this party, and they're not actually enjoying themselves like they say they were. You have Matt McCabe looking out the window. You have Julie Nagel looking out the window. Jennifer McCabe constantly looking out the window. And nobody sees John's body on the lawn. Yet everybody is continuously looking in the same spot John's body was. So where was he? He's not a ghost. He was either on the lawn or in the house, and nobody saw him on the lawn. So there's only one other place he could have been, inside the house.
All right, folks, don't go anywhere. We're going to get Kevin's microphone fixed, and then we're going to talk about Brian Higgins Jeep. It seems the McCabe's have a different story than some other folks who were at the scene. Where was it parked, and who was in front of the house? Who saw what? All that when we return.
You indicated that Jeep was just a little bit in front of the mailbox, meaning about there, correct?
Yes.
And the rear end of that Jeep would be butting up against the driveway.
Yes.
Or at least the line of the driveway, correct?
Yes.
That's quite a bit of detail about where that Jeep was. Would you agree?
No, because I drove down the street and I took a left into the driveway and there was a Jeep there.
Okay. What I'm asking is, you didn't just say your memory was not just somewhere in front of the house. It's literally right in front of the mailbox, the front end of it, adjoining the line of the driveway, correct?
Yes.
That detail obviously stuck out in your mind.
It did, because I was wondering whose Jeep it was.
Did you discuss that detail with your husband at any point?
Not sure.
But her husband testified to the same exact thing, that there was a Jeep with a snowplow in front of the house. And that Jeep with the snowplow belongs to Brian Higgins, one of the guys who was doing the boxing inside the Waterfall Bar and Grill. So what does this testimony mean? And is it consistent with what other witnesses have said? Let's take a closer listen. Jennifer McCabe, again, talking about whose car is parked where in the front of the house. Because all of this is important, because one of those cars is Karen Reed's SUV.
You also indicated that you saw Ryan Nagel's vehicle outside.
Saw lights.
Okay. Lights belonging to the vehicle, right?
Yes, I knew there was another vehicle outside.
And where was that in relation to Miss Reed's vehicle?
It was behind it. I didn't pay much attention to it.
Okay, and where was the Jeep in relation to Ryan Nagel's vehicle and Karen Reed's SUV?
I remember seeing Karen Reed's SUV straight, and then I saw the lights of Ryan Nagel. I did not pay attention to where it was. I was just looking at Miss Reed's vehicle.
Was Ryan Nagel's vehicle and those lights that you remember, were they in front of the Jeep or behind the Jeep?
I am not certain.
You were asked where that SUV was in relation to Ryan Nagel's car, is that right?
Would I be able to look at it to refresh my memory, please?
Well, let's start with this. Do you remember being asked about Karen Reed's SUV and Ryan Nagel's truck?
To be honest, I've had a few grand juries, so if you could show me what you're talking about, I would greatly appreciate it.
And at no point did you mention a Jeep being behind Miss Reed's vehicle, as you testified today, correct?
The questions were all about Miss Reed's vehicle.
At no point, my question is this, it's yes or no. You did or you didn't. Did you mention ever in that grand jury that there was a Jeep behind Miss Reed's vehicle? Yes or no?
I'm not sure. I'd have to read it all.
As you sit here, do you recall mentioning the Jeep?
I was asked about Miss Reed's vehicle, and those are the questions I answered.
I can't. You need to keep your voice up, please.
Sorry.
Let's try this again. As you sit here, do you recall mentioning the Jeep, ma'am?
I would have to reread the transcript.
You don't have to reread the transcript to answer that question. Do you recall mentioning the Jeep? If you don't, you don't.
I may not have been asked about the Jeep, so I did not mention the Jeep.
Fair enough. Did you and Mr. Higgins, between then and now, between the date of the incident and now, have you ever had a conversation with Mr. Higgins about where his Jeep was parked?
No.
Have you ever had a conversation with Mr. Higgins about anything having to do with this case?
I do not believe so.
Did anyone, leaving Mr. Higgins aside, did anyone tell you anything about Mr. Higgins' Jeep and what he testified to?
No.
Okay, I want to take a look at a little graphic we put together here based upon this testimony. If Brian Higgins' Jeep is parked where Matt McCabe and Jennifer McCabe at some point said in front of the mailbox, the car in front would be the SUV, but between the SUV and the F-150 in the back is that Jeep with the snowplow. But that F-150 had 3 witnesses in it, all who testified consistently about what they saw. Take a listen to Ryan Nagel, who was the passenger inside that F-150, whether or not he saw a Jeep in front of him, between him and Karen Reed's SUV.
Did any car pull in between Ricky's truck and the SUV when you were sitting behind the SUV?
No, sir.
You didn't see a Jeep?
No, sir.
With a big old snowplow on the front of it?
No, sir, I did not.
That car was never between your car and the SUV, was it?
I never saw any other vehicle in between us.
All right, fair enough.
All right, let me bring back in our guests, Nick Rocco, Peter Ellikin, Kevin Lenahan. Kevin, I'll go back to you since we missed you last time around. What does this mean? Is the Jeep there? Is it not there? And what does it mean if it is there? What does it mean if it's not there?
Well, we've had several people testify that it is there, right? But this, I've tried to figure out for months where that Jeep is, and I guess we're not going to know until Higgins testifies, because the main issue is Ryan Nagel sitting in the passenger seat of the truck. If the Jeep is in his way, how come he's able to get a clear line of sight to Karen's vehicle? But is it possible that they parked a little further out? Maybe the Jeep pulled a little bit into the road, partly on the lawn or something like that. So I'm not sure that the Jeep is significant here, because pretty much several witnesses have testified to seeing it there. And it's also not really, I don't think, pertinent. It's not suspicious that Jen wouldn't mention the Jeep when not asked about it. She also didn't mention the flagpole and the mailbox or any other thing either. When she's testifying, she's going to talk about the things that she saw, which was the truck with the lights on.
Peter Ellikin, what does this Jeep mean? I mean, eyewitness testimony is incredibly unreliable, right? I hear defense attorneys say that all the time. But is it a difference if the Jeep is there or not there?
Yeah, I think it's this really is important for the defense, because this is like cross-examination 101 for defense counsel. When you have all these inconsistent statements, and for example, and even prior inconsistent, where Jennifer doesn't even mention it when she's interviewed by Proctor in the initial interview, and then later on she says she's very clear and very, not just clear, but very detailed, exactly where it was, exactly, and then you have different people testifying you didn't see it. So this is where I take myself out of, take off my lawyer hat and just think of an average person, an average juror sitting there, and what do they make of all these different stories, the inconsistencies? And that's why that kind of inconsistent testimony does favor the defense, because then we go back to that old thing, reasonable doubt. If we're, who did the jury, if they're scratching their head and say, was it there, was it not there, I have no idea, that's definition of reasonable doubt.
All right, Nick, from your perspective, what is the significance of this Jeep and where it is?
Well, you have all 3 passengers able to see her taillights on her vehicle. They all said, they were not damaged because the brake lights were on. So if they were able to see those taillights, then there couldn't have been a vehicle in between them. And Jennifer McCabe, in her state police report with Michael Proctor, put Karen's vehicle exactly where she is now putting Brian Higgins's vehicle. As far as the importance of the Jeep, to be honest, I don't really understand, what is important about it being there or not. I think what is important is that Jennifer McCabe can't answer these questions, because once you tell a lie, it's a yes or no question. She wants to see transcripts to make sure she doesn't change her story in front of this jury. So yes or no, was the Jeep there? Well, I want to see the transcript. There's a reason why she's doing that, because if you have the truth on your side, the truth never changes, and she would be able to answer that question yes or no. And the only people that are testifying that that Jeep was there was her husband and herself. So personally, I don't believe the Jeep was there, because you have everybody that's outside and also Julie outside that don't put the Jeep in that spot.
So, Kevin Lenahan, 0 to 10, how effective do you believe Jennifer McCabe has been for the prosecution? 10 being, this is the witness, this is the best, 0 being a disaster.
Well, obviously tomorrow's going to be big. I would say this morning, she absolutely manhandled Alan Jackson. She crushed it. But he did manage to create some doubt over the butt dials and stuff like that towards the end of the day. So maybe at this point it's kind of a wash. But there's certainly, you have to prove, the defense has to show that it's plausible that she is some kind of a sociopath that's here planning the murder of her friend, or planning the cover up of her friend, really planning the murder, because he was still alive in the house, according to the defense theory, when she drove off with her husband home to her 4 little girls. So I think she hit it well, more than well enough.
Peter, how important will tomorrow be on this Google search?
Actually, I don't know if that's going to be the last word. If she sticks to her story and just keeps saying, no, I made it at 6 something in the morning and I never did it in the middle of the night, and she doesn't move off that, then I think it's really going to come down to the forensics. I know defense has people who say absolutely positively 2:27 in the morning, and what I understand, the feds in their independent investigation had 3 experts also say absolutely 2:27 in the morning. It was not later, although prosecution is going to have an expert saying, no, the time thing is all off, and here's why. But however, once again, if the jury is confused, if you have all these experts saying different things and they never really nail it down. I hope they nail it down, and that may be possible. But if they don't nail it down, then all you've got is, I don't know, reasonable doubt. That's not enough to convict somebody.
Confusion is a defendant's best friend, but we shall see. Gentlemen, thanks so much. We're out of time for tonight, but you know we're going to do it again. Nick Rocco, Peter Ellikin, Kevin Lenahan, thank you all so much.